Today I take a question that was very popular on the live feed that I didn't get to address about a week ago, which is, can artists be entrepreneurs? In my view, artists make the best entrepreneurs. I give you my rationale around that thinking, as well as giving you a few caveats as to how artists often totally, completely get in their own way so they never actually produce anything great. I think if we can marry the two considerations that I cover in this episode, if you consider yourself to be a creative person, you can truly produce great work.
28 and I'm trying to shape history, pulling from the sky for some strength to take with me, line up the stars, fly away quickly and push the world forward like a tidal wave hit me. I ride the wave swiftly, I fear no man, check my titles mate quickly.
Welcome back to AskJackD. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we take a question from
Danielle Dole-Cross.
Danielle Dole-Cross. Danielle Dole-Cross.
Danielle.
Where's Danielle coming to us from?
From Facebook.
From Facebook. Thank you for submitting today's question, Danielle. Shoot, Rosie.
Okay, can an artist be an entrepreneur?
Can an artist be an entrepreneur? Yeah, I remember this one. Danielle asked this in one of the feeds of the live shows we were doing, and I didn't get a chance to answer it. However, it was very popular. It got a lot of likes and comments, people liking and commenting on it. So hence, Danielle, we wanted to address it in this episode for you and everybody else that is interested. I have a very firm view of this. My overarching view is that artists make the best entrepreneurs. And the reason is this. I believe that every business has two sides to it. It's got dynamics and mechanics. Dynamics being the heart, the soul, the creativity, the culture, the brand, the feeling, the essence. The mechanics being how we operationalize the dynamics. So the infrastructure, the systems, the people, the processes, the procedures, the projects. A lot of P's in that sentence. And you can't not have both, right? If we've got all dynamics and no mechanics, then we're sort of a bunch of dreamers sitting around talking about stuff. If we've got all mechanics, no dynamics, then we're doing a whole bunch of stuff without any vision or without any soul or without any purpose, which will put a glass ceiling on the business anyway. Artists make the best entrepreneurs because if you can learn to view entrepreneurship and if you can learn to view your life as artistry, then the creativity you put into it will be so innovative that it will differentiate you from everybody else that's just going through the textbook motions as to what they read in Harvard Business Review last quarter, right? Often when you get a very mechanical CEO or a very mechanical entrepreneur, they lose, the business tends to lose innovation. Best example of this I can think of is Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs was once asked in an interview, do you see yourself more as a hippie or a business person? And he sort of like looked at the guy confused and sort of shrugged and went, clearly I'm a hippie, right? Which is interesting because when you think of Steve Jobs, you think a little bit hippie, but you think like entrepreneur, business person, built, the most valuable company in the world, thought of himself first and foremost as a hippie. And he went on to say that he said the best projects that he had ever worked on, and he used Apple II as an example, said, we were a bunch of artists sitting around. He said the team that worked at Apple II, a very small team, were poets, they were painters, they were artists. They also happened to be the best computer scientists in the world, but they were artists and painters and poets first. And they'd come to work, we'd do our thing, then they'd go home and they'd write poetry, they'd go home and they'd paint. And the reason why and the same was true of Jobs, right? He had a whole sort of, he viewed everything he did as artistry. So does Branson. Branson says starting a new business is like starting with a blank canvas, and you've got to ensure that all of the different colors, all of the different brush strokes all come together and talk together, and at the end of the day create something that's holistically beautiful, right? So he uses artistic metaphors to describe what it is to start and build a business. Now, Jobs then got ousted out of Apple, right? And you get John Scully coming in, who was a methodical, mechanical CEO who'd come from Pepsi, where it's not about the product, because Pepsi never changed their product unless they release a diet Pepsi or whatever, Pepsi once every fucking decade, but they're not a product company, they're a marketing company. And so, Scully comes in with but this is how you create a company, bang, 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 bang. And so Apple then as an organizationally started to believe that innovation was the job of the research and development department, rather than being an overarching organizational value that everybody lives and breathes every day. It's like R&D will research some stuff and they'll tell product what, and so the company lost its flair. It lost its very heartbeat, which was we obsess about the customer, we obsess about the product, and we're incredibly creative and innovative with how we go about meeting the demands of this particular market. So yes, artists make incredible entrepreneurs. What was interesting, and you can go to the Facebook page and look at the comments, one person, Sheila, commented on it saying, I'm really interested to hear the answer to this question because we have a lot of limiting beliefs, being artists. So that's my caveat to that, is don't get lost in the, I'm not going to work today because my soul wants to do this and my cat told me that. And, sometimes artists, and I can relate to this to a degree, less so today because, you need to be an artist and an athlete, right? You need to be an artist, but you need to get to work. You need to be an artist, but you need to drive. You need to be an artist, but you need to recognize that there's a whole lot of intelligence and logistical and mechanical stuff that needs to underpin all of your artistry. And you need to realize that you're never going to be perfect. The work is never going to be perfect. So just drive it, get it done, get it out anyway. The biggest problem with artists as entrepreneurs is they get in their own way with their own story about stuff that sometimes only exists in their mind, right? So get out of your own way, embrace what makes you great, underpin it with what makes it real, and work and drive and get it out and embrace that creativity. And I think if you can do all of those things, if you consider yourself to be an artist, you'll come out with stuff that's just beautiful and elegant and is so different to what everybody else is doing, because you don't give a fuck. You're the person that colors outside of the lines, and the world loves that. So embrace that. Really good question. I look forward to speaking with you guys tomorrow. 'Cause I'm lighting up the stars.